Hey, what's up guys? It's Abby Andrew and welcome back to my channel. So there's construction going on upstairs. They're remodeling the apartment above me, so if there's drilling in the background, I apologize in advance for that. It's been non-stop and I didn't want to wait till it was over to film this video. So today's topic is going to be different than most of my normal videos. I am vegan, but I don't typically make a lot of videos about veganism, but this was a topic that I keep seeing talked about especially on vegan Twitter, and I just kind of wanted to make a video to talk about my thoughts on it. So that topic is about how Miley Cyrus is apparently no longer vegan. So to give a little bit of a backstory, she went vegan in about 2013, and then she recently did an interview with Joe Rogan, who he himself has expressed many anti-vegan comments on his platforms or whatever. So he's kind of a notable anti-vegan. So for her to say this on his platform, it just almost feels like a slap in the face to a community that she used to be a part of. But in that interview, she was talking about how she started to incorporate fish back into her diet and stopped being vegan in about 2019. So she was vegan from 2013 to 2019. So that's a very long time. That's about 6 years. So I just wanted to talk about my thoughts on this, how I'm seeing the vegan community on Twitter react to it, and how I personally am reacting to it as well. So obviously my initial reaction was disappointment. It's funny, I just found out about this I think yesterday, and the night before I heard about the news I was just thinking about how awesome it was that Miley Cyrus was vegan, and I was just thinking about how awesome Miley is in general, and learning that she's no longer vegan doesn't make me suddenly hate her. It is disappointing, but in the interview the reason that she said she started to incorporate fish back into her diet was because she said she felt like she was having some deficiencies, especially with omegas. She felt like her brain was kind of functioning more slowly and that she had, I guess, brain fog and low energy. So right off the bat, I want to say that when someone's going vegan, putting their health as a priority is still extremely important, and I am sad to hear that she was experiencing these health issues. And I'm also glad that now that she's eating differently, I'm glad that she is feeling better. So ultimately, health is extremely important. So I just want to say that right off the bat. However, with things like omegas especially, there are sources you can get omegas from that aren't fish-based. Things like flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts. There's probably a couple other things I'm missing. I'm not the biggest health expert, so I don't want to get into all that in this video. I'll link some resources below if you want to learn more about vegan sources of omegas. But for example, I have this right here. I take this vegetarian DHA supplement. And this is something I mostly take during weeks when I feel like I'm not eating the best. So this isn't even something you have to take daily as a vegan, because you can still get omegas from other vegan sources from your food, but there are also supplements. So it's disappointing to see that instead of trying to figure out a vegan solution to building up her omegas in her diet, she ended up incorporating fish back into her diet. And another thing that's kind of disappointing about that is when you go vegan, you kind of, this is something that I'm gonna say knowing that it might come off as a pretentious vegan thing, and I think that fellow vegans will understand, and people who aren't vegan might hear this and be like, oh, that sounds so pretentious. So I just wanna preface that. Sometimes the way I talk about veganism to vegans and the way I talk about veganism to non-vegans can be a little bit different, because I know that I'm speaking to a different audience and I want to make it sound appealing to the right person who isn't vegan. So I just want to say that. But it's when you go vegan, you start to see animals kind of as equals, and that might sound crazy to some people that just see humans as far superior and the top of the food chain and stuff. But it's to me personally, I believe that other living things, no matter how big or small or intelligent they are, have just as much of a right to live happily without pain as I do, whether or not they're intelligent, whether or not they're capable of thought or anything like that, or emotion. And these things are debatable. I do think that a lot of animals, especially mammals, are capable of emotion, and most animals are proven to feel pain, including fish. There's a lot of evidence that says that fish can feel pain, and if anything, I feel like fish suffer the most out of any animals that are killed for food. I won't get into that too much in this video, but just the fishing practices are completely horrible. Most of them are gutted alive or they suffocate to death. And because there's a lot of evidence that they can feel pain, all the things they go through, being able to experience that is so horrible. I'm gonna link a video below that is a video that talks about this in a little bit more detail. But it's I don't understand how she could be vegan from 2013 for that long, and during that time she must have developed a mindset of other animals being equals. So to suddenly be able to turn that off in your mind, I don't really understand how that's possible. But again, if she was experiencing health issues, I do understand maybe like justifying that in her own mind for the sake of her health. But at the same time, I'm not sure why she didn't try to seek out vegan solutions. I'm not sure if she's like anti-supplement. There are some people that believe that supplements aren't a good source of nutrients, and they think that if you're not getting it from your food, it like isn't adequate, which isn't true at all. But there's also the fact that you can get it from your food as a vegan. So there's just so many questions that I have about this that unfortunately will probably never be answered. And who's to say that she didn't seek out a vegan solution? Maybe she did try vegan solutions and they didn't work for her, and it was like a last resort to incorporate fish back into her diet. We really don't know that. So what I also want to say in this video is that I'm seeing a lot of vegans like hating on Miley Cyrus for quitting veganism, and as much as I'm disappointed that she quit veganism, I don't think we should hate on her. I think that just makes the vegan community look a little bit crazy, and even if we are very disappointed, I think that it's just not a good look. I think we should try to be sympathetic to people like her in her situation, who, if they are experiencing health issues, it's important, again, to put your health first, and if that's what she felt like she had to do, I hope that she explores other solutions in the future, and maybe she'll go back to being vegan someday. That would be really great. In the many years that she was vegan, she was a loud supporter of it, or like a very prominent supporter of it. Like she wasn't just vegan, she actually like promoted veganism on her platforms, which is amazing for someone as huge as her. So I think that the fact that she's quitting veganism now, it doesn't undo all the good that she's done over these last 6 or so years being vegan. And she also mentioned in the interview how she has a lot of animals in her like 2 homes or whatever. I think she mentioned having about 20 in one of her homes and 20 on her other home. I'm not sure if she has farms. I don't really know the details behind that. But that also kind of annoyed me about the video, is she's like, oh, I have all these animals. I'm doing my part for the animals already. And I don't want to mock her. I don't want to sound like I'm mocking her. But that part of the video did kind of like irk me a little bit, because it's like, okay, you have all these animals that you're taking care of that were presumably rescue animals of whatever type. I don't really know the details. And that's amazing, and I'm glad that she's doing that and using her resources to care for these animals. But that's about 40 or so animals out of like billions that are killed for food every single year, especially fish. The amount of fish killed for food every year and marine life is astronomical, because not only is it the fish that are like caught for food to eat, there's also a lot of bycatch in the fishing industry, which refers to the other animals that are caught in nets that aren't even caught intentionally, but they just happen to be killed in the industry. And it's kind of just like, oh well, oops, we caught this dolphin, we're just gonna throw its corpse back into the water. And it's just like, it's very, very wasteful and disturbing. And the fact that there's even a term called bycatch, that there's like a term around what they catch by mistake that ends up dying anyway, it's just kind of like all part of the plan. They use these massive nets and massive fishing lines that kill so many other sea creatures that they aren't even trying to catch. It's just so completely wasteful and destructive and horrifying, especially if you do see each individual creature as a living being that deserves to live. I don't want to get all like vegan preachy right here and right now, because I know that these are kind of things you open your eyes to more so after going vegan, so I don't want to sound crazy ranting about this stuff either, but it just is kind of like disturbing to me. So my point is that like she's talking about these like 40 or so animals that she's giving a good life, which is amazing. I don't want to take away from that, but then to use that to justify eating animal products again, particularly fish, which is like a living being that has to die for her to eat. And now if she never goes back to being vegan and she eats fish for the rest of her life, how many like hundreds of thousands of fish is she going to eat throughout her lifetime now, depending how old she gets and how much fish she eats? But it's like you're still causing another creature to die for your meal. And it's like, I'm so torn, because again, I do think it's important to put your health first, but it's knowing that there are vegan sources of omegas, and there's vegan sources of every nutrient out there, especially omegas. There's plenty of vegan sources of omegas, and if you can't get enough in your diet, there are supplements. So the fact that she would still choose to go around these things and eat fish again is just like, but why? Like, it's just very disappointing. I'm also seeing on Twitter people saying that like, oh, if she quit veganism, she was never really vegan. She was just doing it for show. I think those kind of attitudes kind of bother me as well, because even though she did quit veganism, I don't think that undoes the things that she's done in the past. Who knows how many countless people she's encouraged to go vegan. I think she must have encouraged like hundreds of people or thousands of people to go vegan, because she's such a prominent figure. I'm sure there's lots of younger people that look up to her and they're like, Miley's vegan, I'm gonna go vegan. I think that's awesome. On the counter side of that, the fact that she's quitting veganism and the way that she presented it in that interview makes it seem like vegans are inherently malnourished. So at the same time, being a prominent ex-vegan is also kind of bad for the movement as well, because she's such a big figure again, so she's making veganism seem like it's not possible or like long-term sustainable for your health. So it kind of is a double-edged sword, unfortunately. Yeah. So I'm kind of like torn on my opinions about this. Again, I'm very disappointed that she quit veganism. I'm glad she's feeling better in her health. I don't think it undoes the things that she's done in the past. Like, for example, people on Twitter are saying that she was never really vegan, and they were trying to like provide evidence of times that she was a fake vegan or whatever, and like someone brought up this random picture of her eating chips, and they were like, look here, she's eating pepper jack chips. And that picture could have already been from when she quit veganism, so I don't even know why they brought that up without context. Someone else brought up this dress that she's wearing that has feathers on it, and supposedly they're fake feathers. I think they are fake feathers. They look kind of fake, but the person was saying like, well, we don't know for sure that they're fake. There's no evidence that they're fake, so I'm just gonna assume they're real and assume she's a fake vegan. So that makes no sense to me either, because I want to kind of take the perspective of like innocent until proven guilty. Now that she is an ex-vegan, she's very open about it. So why in the past would she have lied about it if she's willing to be so upfront about it? So, like, I'm willing to believe that any activism she's done in the past was sincere and genuine. Like, if she was modeling a dress with feathers on it and she says they're fake feathers, I'm willing to just believe that. I have no reason to debate that. Same with in the Don't Call Me Angel music video. I think she was wearing, like, wings and leather. I heard that she made sure that those things were all vegan, so that kind of stuff is still great to hear. And I'm hoping that even though she technically is no longer vegan and she does eat fish now, I'm hoping that she still stays more or less plant-based. Hopefully. I do think that the amount of vegans like harassing her for quitting veganism, if that gets back to her, I feel like that's just gonna make her never want to go back to being vegan, because it's just gonna leave a bad taste in her mouth. No pun intended. But like, I just think when someone attacks someone for being an ex-vegan, that's just gonna make them hate veganism as a whole and never want to go back to it. Whereas I think that people may be sending, not that she's gonna be like reading everyone's comments or messages or whatever, but people like DMing her or like tagging her and stuff about vegan omega sources and like providing resources to her, I think that's a lot more helpful than attacking her and shaming her, because I think that's just going to make vegans look a little bit nutty, and it's going to make her never want to go back to being vegan. So yeah, it's just frustrating all the way around. Definitely, first of all, I don't want to make anyone mad with this video. I feel like it's probably gonna, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are gonna disagree with the things I said. I just wanted to post this as a discussion video. There's no need to start fights in the comments or whatever, but definitely comment your thoughts below. I know that there was a lot of disagreement in the vegan community, but these things are things that can be discussed without fighting about them. So do feel free to leave other alternative points below. We can have a friendly discussion, and yeah. Thanks for watching this video. There's probably some things I left out for sure, but let me know in the comments below if you do want me to elaborate on any of the things I said or make more vegan videos in the future. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. One other thing I wanted to mention in this video super quick is that I think that a lot of times when there are prominent ex-vegans, it's always unfortunate to me when these ex-vegans will come out and say like, I felt like I was missing blank in my diet, so I felt like I needed to incorporate this very specific animal product. But then you see them like a couple weeks or months later and they're incorporating all animal products back into their diet, and that doesn't really make sense to me, because if they really strongly felt like they needed this one particular animal product, in Miley's case it is fish, I don't know how else she's changed her diet. I'm not sure if she's still remaining mostly plant-based and just eating fish. It's just always really confusing to me when there's an ex-vegan that says they wanted this specific animal product, but then they end up just incorporating all animal products again, instead of just being mostly plant-based. I think that as a vegan community, we should be more open to people being like mostly plant-based and encourage that. I think a lot of times people will get mad at people who are mostly plant-based but won't cut out like a handful of animal products. I understand it is frustrating, and for a lot of us, we can be really emotional and angry about people who continue to eat animals and animal products because we're so focused on the cruelty, as we should be, and obviously we're trying to open other people's eyes. My camera just died, so I'm just finishing this up on my iPhone. I was saying I think that as a vegan community, we shouldn't discourage people from cutting back on animal products just because they aren't willing to be fully vegan. In Miley's case, I hope that she continues to say mostly plant-based, even if she does insist on eating fish again. That's unfortunate, but I think that is still beneficial if she is still mostly plant-based, because then there's all those other products that she's still not contributing to financially. And then for people who have never been vegan, I think that a lot of times, for example, someone will say like, oh, I could never be vegan, I love cheese too much. So I think that in that case, we could maybe encourage them like to eat mostly plant-based, and if they really must, continue to eat cheese. Obviously, to any vegan, that's like horrific to like condone anybody eating cheese, because from our perspective, it's still a very, very cruel industry, and I get that. And I get why people are so against that too. But from the perspective of someone who isn't vegan, if we're trying to communicate with them and the way they see it, I think it should be encouraged still if they want to cut out most animal products and still include that one thing they can't live without, because I think that once somebody starts cutting out some animal products, it opens their eyes to the cruelty in all the different animal industries, and then maybe they'll end up cutting out that thing down the line. Obviously, if someone's willing to go vegan overnight, that's awesome and amazing, but we shouldn't shame people who aren't willing to go vegan overnight if they are still willing to like take baby steps, which I know is very, very controversial in the vegan community. So again, please nobody start vicious fights in the comments. Definitely feel free to like debate me, but no need to be vicious. Okay, yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.